Welcome to the Profile Business Radio Network, broadcasting from the Profile at 375 Water Street in beautiful downtown Vancouver. Brought to you by Mr. Taxes. You're listening to KnighTalk with Allan Knight.
Welcome, everyone, to the Allan Knight Show. It's a show brought to you by right here, the Profile Business Radio Network, every Thursday at 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. The Allan Knight Show is an entrepreneurial small business show. It's the most listened to show as far as we know, right, Mike?
That's correct.
Because you've updated me on the numbers, and it sounds like we're the number one show somewhere. I'm not sure where, but
somewhere.
I think we're really good. We're
Yes,
doing really
We're doing
well.
awesome. We're doing amazing.
How you doing, Mike? Our producer and doing everything in the back end. He sets up the lights. We're on video as well.
Yep.
And we're on a Blog Talk Radio archive. So if you actually missed the show, you'll be able to get it on Blog Talk. Every week we talk about how to be a more successful entrepreneur. There's a growing number of people in their own businesses. There's a growing number of small businesses. So what we bring to the table on this show is we try to bring as much expertise, partly through my coaching and partly through our guest expert. And we're very happy to have with us, who's returning after a couple of months' absence, Darrin Hotte, who is going to talk to us about conflict resolution. He's going to talk about what conflict is all about, how to resolve conflict. It'll be quite exciting because I might even get into a little conflict with him. We never know how things are going to go. So I'm really looking forward to that. So the way it's going to work, we start by introducing the show and our sponsor, which is the Profile Business Radio Network. The Profile is a co-working atmosphere, co-working office space here in downtown Vancouver in beautiful Gastown. And it is a spectacular place. Mike, I always like you to hone in and tell us a bit about how would you describe the Profile?
Oh, just an amazing work environment. You've got people that you can collaborate with, and it's probably the nicest co-working space in all of Vancouver.
You know, what's interesting is when I was taking my master's degree in education at McGill University many moons ago, there was a study to indicate what the top 10 key HAPA fire factors in a company were. Where do you think money was from number 1 to 10?
Probably somewhere in the middle.
It was 5, number 5. What do you think number 1 was?
Not sure.
Coworkers.
Okay.
And it's fascinating because the more I meet people out there and more what I see what the economy is doing and where people are at, there's this tribe mentality. People are realizing that you can't do it alone. You know, Mike, you're in your business. I'm in my business. Kevin Penstock is the owner of, and he's here today. And would you agree you can't do what you do alone?
Absolutely not.
Right. None of us can do it alone. And so the more we have small business, the more we have entrepreneurs, the more we have a need to come together. And that is the brilliance of Kevin Penstock's vision to create a co-working atmosphere. And this is an amazing place. You could do seminars here. You can rent an office. You can get all kinds of printing done. Just about anything, how to run your company. And people meet for a coffee. We're in a most incredible, you can't see it all, but this is the most incredible little coffee shop. And, one day we'll probably take a tour of it when we do some videos, and you'll really see how great it is. So we're very grateful to have them as our sponsor. Is that okay? Did I do a good job there?
Awesome.
You're okay with that, Kevin?
Perfect.
Okay, good. Now, I always like to start with the theme for the week. Then I'm going to answer a couple of questions related to personal development. Then we're going to introduce our guest expert, Darrin Hotte. And we're going to ask him a whole bunch of things related to conflict resolution and how that could impact your business and in your personal relationships too. Then I will end the program by answering a couple of questions in the area of communication. So to start my rant, my kind of weekly rant, I want to talk today about something that kind of came up a couple of times this week. And it has to do with two business owners that I met this week. They both happen to be clients of mine. And in both cases, Mike, their stress from home, their home life, was significantly influencing their leadership and their productivity at work. You know, sometimes we hear you got to separate work from home and all that stuff. And I'm sure if we sat down with Kevin, we'd realize people come in here all the time and we could pretend that everything is going well. But if you've got stress and you've got anxiety, I'm sure Darren will agree when we bring him on. that could significantly impact your productivity at work. Now, in both cases, these individuals spoke to me at length of the difficulty they were having with their teenage kids. And they went on and on and on and on and ranted about it. And at the end of the day, I took my finger and I said, you know where the problem mainly lies? I'm not protecting your kids because I'm sure they contribute to the problem. But I said, here's where the problem lies, right there. And in both cases, the issue was the same thing. They were the kind of parents who can't say no to anybody. They're the people pleasers. So their kids are spoiled. Their kids have got away with everything. Of course, their kids are going to take advantage in every situation. And then what happens is when this goes out of control, the parent flips out and gets overly angry and aggressive toward their kids. And of course, that doesn't work either. So what I try to tell each individual is that they need to take charge of themselves. They need to assert themselves. They need to feel better about who they are so they can become a better parent, a better leader. And they need to learn how to communicate somewhere in the middle, not passively, not saying anything or being overly aggressive, but being smack dab in the middle by being assertive so that the teenager could respect them more. Both cases, they're working on some tools and techniques. I'm really excited about it. That's my rant because I can't believe they're the only parents that are like that, and I'm sure Darren's going to agree with me when we bring up. That is Allan Knight's rant for the day. How do you like that, Kevin?
Thumbs up.
Okay, first question in from Joan. These two questions are related to personal development, which is all connected anyway. Joan writes, I had a thriving business for a number of years. About 8 months ago, I fell in love with my current boyfriend, and my career is off track. He is a little controlling and demands a lot of my time. What do I do? More of the same. What's really happened in this case, this person was on track. They were alone. The so-called falling in love was more than just genuine falling in a healthy kind of love relationship. She probably became obsessed. She probably got all wrapped up in trying to please this guy, and she got off track. She allowed herself to become a victim of whatever codependent tendencies there were, Joan. You need to look at it for what it is. You need to see that you shouldn't ever allow anything or anybody to get you off track. And if you allow them, then first, you're to blame. And secondarily, you don't need toxic relationships. You should be very selective because if this person can't go beyond controlling and truly love you for who you are, and it starts by you loving yourself, then you shouldn't be in these type of relationships. But it'll only start when you have a certain amount of self-respect and never allow anyone to sabotage your business. Joan, I hope that helps. Second question, before we bring on Darren here, from Frank. I have left my job of 10 years and really feel I want to do something I am passionate about. How do I figure that out? Well, you just go see Kevin Penstock. He told me he's looking for a salesperson. So maybe, I don't know. I'm got to apply for that. How do you figure it out? Well, this is a great time, Frank, because you're obviously in a situation where you paid your dues, you've done a lot of good work, you've learned some skills, but now you're ready to engage in your true passion. Fantastic. What I would do, make a list of every career that is out there, from waiter to hotel manager to graphic designer to lawyer to TV personality. Make a list of every one of them and go 0 to 10. Rate yourself 0, low, passion, 10, highest passion, or in between. And you'll probably see if you have 50 categories, you'll hone in on a few that are 8, 9, and 10. Once you do that, you're going to be that close to seeing what your true passion is. Then what you need to decide, is this a long-term vision or a short-term, something you could start right now? If you want to be a doctor, you might have to go to school and get a job for a while you build up and become a doctor. Or you might start your own entrepreneurial business right away. That's what you do to brainstorm to get clear. Hope that helps. So, before we bring on Big Darren, I just want to say again, it's KnighTalk, the Allan Knight Show here. PBRN, Profile Business Radio Network. Kevin Penstock, the owner, Profile Business Network. Profile, what do we call it? The Profile, that's what it's called. The co-working space brings the Allan Knight Show to you every week from beautiful Gastown in Vancouver. Now, what I'm going to do is introduce my good buddy Darren. Darren, do you mind if I introduce you little formally?
Please.
And then you could say whatever you want. I'm going to read this one off because I haven't memorized. I mean, I like this guy, but I haven't memorized it. Darrin Hotte is basically committed to empowering individuals and groups to work through conflict, transition, and crisis. He has over 25 years of leadership experience and specialized training in the areas of conflict, complex family systems, and relationships. He is passionate about building, restoring, and preserving health within companies, families, communities, and organizations. Now, Darren is a certified comprehensive family mediator, Family Mediation Canada, and a member of the family roster of Mediate BC. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, buddy.
How's it going?
Good.
How's the conflict going in your life these days?
Outstanding. Outstanding conflict.
First question I must ask you is what is it about your background that motivated you to get into this industry in the first place?
Great question. I did so much work with families and the whole range of families, from children up to parents to grandparents. And I just noticed that there was so much difficulty between people in their relationships and their families. Right. And it translated to the various organizations they're involved with or their family businesses. And so I just thought, there's got to be a better way to do this. And they don't generally teach conflict resolution in our colleges and schools and anywhere else.
So why do people have so much difficulty with conflict, and how do we solve it?
Oh, boy, that's a long conversation. How much time do we have here? There's so many ways that relationships can get off track, and conflict, negative conflict, can come into the picture. Miscommunication, different perspectives of what reality is, different values, mismatched needs, and sometimes just stress in our lives and even bad behavior gets involved.
Give me a specific example. Like that, what you said is good. Now, as a follow-up to that, give me you don't have to say names, of course. Yeah. We know it's probably Kevin or Michael or whatever, but just give us a specific example in the last month or two where so-and-so came to you. What was the specific issue and how did you solve it or help them solve it?
Yeah, so in my process of conflict resolution, what I try to do is help people really work that out themselves. I don't come and say, you need to do this, Allan, you need to do that. I say, what do the two of you need to do to get through this together? So when I work with a couple, for instance, that's separating or divorcing, right. They have all kinds of needs around how they're going to take care of the kids now, how they're going to pay for things, and how they're going to divide up their stuff. So I meet with them together, present them with their situation, create some reality checks for them, and allow them to have that conversation, really facilitate the conversation.
What if one of them is just not interested to go through the process?
Well, then they don't go through the process.
Okay, so but do you discern that pretty quickly in the process?
Yeah, before we even get started. Yeah, I meet with people separately to make sure they're ready to go, ready to negotiate, work together, collaborate.
What percent of the work you do are related to business relationships versus the work you do with personal relationships?
I'd say it's probably half business and then half family stuff. But then I do family business as well, right? So that there's a merger in between.
So, because this is a business radio network,
yeah.
We could still spend a little time on the personal.
Yeah.
But do you see that many companies can be dysfunctional because of lack of effective communication, either leadership or we're in a co-working office space here, right?
Yep.
I mean, how much dysfunction do you see out there in the business world?
There's all kinds of dysfunction because people are people, right? We're human and we're dysfunctional. Let me give you something. I love your rant. Let me add something into that. There's a group in the States that did some work, and they said this, that when someone's productivity is reduced by 25% because of stress in the workplace, their work week becomes a 20-hour work week.
Wow.
20-hour work week.
Wow.
So do the math. If all of your staff and all of your people are working for 20 hours instead of the full week,
right.
What does that do to your company? And what if you, as whether you're a solo entrepreneur or whether you're the leader of a company, right. If your stress is reducing your work week to 20 hours, what's that doing?
Okay, so what is the core issue holding the leadership back from having more productivity by having less conflict in their company?
Courage.
Oh, interesting. Explain.
Courage. A good leader will create conflict. And what I mean by that is a good leader will approach people to check things out, to investigate, to probe, to push, to encourage greater productivity and greater creativity. We'll bring ideas together and compare ideas and gifts and draw out strengths. That's what some of the things that a leader does. That takes courage to come up to approach a team or an individual and say, how's it going? Here's what I've noticed, and then give them feedback.
So the leader themselves has to have a confidence level so they don't get their fears or ego in the way, and they address whatever it takes. In other words, they might build someone up, they might acknowledge someone, or they might have some tough love.
Absolutely, and that's communication, isn't it?
Right,
So it's
yeah.
giving affirming and constructive feedback.
Right.
A good leader will always be doing that. So
Right.
that's courage to do that is absolutely a key part of that.
When I was studying leadership many years ago, I remember that there's probably many different types, but I remember 3 types. There was the laissez-faire leadership,
Right.
where you just kind of let things go and it was democratic. Then you had like Kevin Penstock, who's extremely what we call dictatorial. Like when you walk in, he's got a whip here at the profile.
Yep.
And then you've got in the middle of the road, the more kind of the person who has a bit of structure, a bit of leadership in the sense of assertiveness, but also can empower. Could you still break it down that way? And what are the best types of leadership to ensure less conflict in the workplace?
I don't know if we can say one of those 3 or the other is the right way or any way, but I would say courageous leadership.
Wow, okay.
Courageous leadership. I mean, have the courage to care about your people and connect, and then push into their world a little bit.
Have you written a book?
Not yet.
That should be the name of your book, Courageous Leadership. Yeah,
It's probably out there.
Do you guys agree? I think
Probably already there.
Oh, I don't know about that. Courageous leadership.
All
That's
right.
good. Now, if people are experiencing conflict at work, does it necessarily mean that they're likely to have conflict at home?
Well, you mean they're in conflict at work, so they must be in conflict at home?
I'm just
that
asking.
kind of person to bring. Well, we're all in conflict everywhere, aren't we?
Yeah.
We have conflict everywhere we go, in our families, in our workplace. There's no question. It's conflicts
No,
everywhere.
but what I mean is if there's a pattern, let's say if you're dealing with a company and you're
Yeah.
seeing that there's a certain pattern in the workplace, this person is stubborn or whatever,
Right.
does that usually mean they're going to have the same problem at home?
Yes and no. People that struggle in their conflict resolution will probably struggle at work and at home.
Mm-hmm.
However, we show up in conflict very differently in our different roles.
Right.
So in my family, I approach conflict in a certain way. In my job, I approach conflict in a little bit of a different way. And we tend to do that, and that's natural and it makes sense. So the conflict can be different, but if someone they're not good at conflict, they won't be good at it at work, they won't be good at it at home.
Yeah. We're with Darrin Hotte here on the Allan Night Show every Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on PBRN, Profile Business Radio Network, and we're really happy to have you here because this is a very fascinating kind of topic that we're talking about.
It's crucial.
What would you say? How many years have you been doing this for?
Well, it's been about 25, but I've been working in these sort of environments where I've been managing conflict. It's only been in the last few years that I've taken all of that and focused on conflict,
Right.
and become a professional mediator.
What was the most challenging conflict issue that you faced in your career?
People who challenged my leadership because their expectations were very different than what I could actually fulfill. So it's expectations of a leader that are impossible to fulfill, and that created conflict.
They wanted you to solve the problem for them.
Well, they wanted me to be a certain kind of leader and give them certain things, and I wasn't able to give them everything they needed.
You just couldn't do it.
Well, I had limits to my role and limits to who I was, and they had to take responsibility for some of their stuff too. So,
How do companies come to you? Is it a lot of word of mouth? Is that most of your business?
Word of mouth. Yeah.
When a company finds out about you, what do they normally say to you when they actually call you? Give us an example of what they would say that would indicate that the symptoms have surfaced and they need your help. Give us some examples of the symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely. When people stop communicating, stop speaking to each other. So I hear that fairly often, that a manager and another coworker, they just stopped talking.
Right.
And they need to start speaking to be able to move forward and work together. So that's one situation. I hear about high stress. People are really stressed out, and they're with either clients or customers, and so I help to build a custom way to approach their clients based on a conflict model.
Right.
And so they start to shut down and get stressed. They have sick days. They don't show up to work. That shows me there's something wrong too.
One of the last questions is, men or women more relevant here in who you deal with, or is it a pretty well even 50-50?
Oh, it's pretty
Pretty
even. Yeah,
Pretty even.
yeah, pretty even. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, 3 key things you want to leave our listeners. There are companies out there, there are leaders out there, there are owners out there. Give them 2 or 3 big tips to help them take away something practical that they can think about to become a better leader and to help avoid unnecessary conflict.
Yeah, excellent. 2 things. Courage. So you have the courage to step in, ask the questions, have the conversation.
Confront. Not be afraid, not wallow and kind of run away.
Yeah, don't avoid it. Get in there and mix it up. Have the crucial conversation. And the second thing is curiosity. If we're more curious in the midst of our conflict instead of just being defensive. So if you and I are in conflict and you say something or do something, I have the choice to just react and be defensive and push back and all that. Or I can say, wow, I wonder what's going on with Allan. What's happening with him? I'd like to find out more. So, Allan, I noticed ... Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's all about communicating.
Man, it just makes a huge difference.
How do people get in touch with you, my friend?
I can go to my website, newsolutionmediation.com.
What are they going to see at your website?
Lots of information about who I am, the kind of work that I do, and then contact information. And some resources there as well about conflict mediation, all that.
Do you have a blog as well?
I do. There's a blog there, yep.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Well, we're so happy to have you on the show. You'll have to come back again because we can
Great
go
to be
on
back,
and
buddy.
on.
I know.
Thank
We'll
you.
go on forever. Let's do it next time. All right.
You did a great job.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, we're going to, last part of the show is answering 2 final questions that we have. This is more on the area of communication. Now, Nancy asks, can you give me some ideas of how to do an effective elevator speech? I know that a lot of you out there have many opportunities to get up in front of a group and give a 30, 60-second elevator speech. So I'm going to give you 1 or 2 quick examples. Think about the product or service that you have and you can apply it into your own situation. We'll use a financial advisor for now. Hi, my name is Allan Knight. Thank you for having me here today. I'm a financial advisor with ABC Financial Company, and we do mutual funds and RSPs, and I'd love to speak to you, and you can come over to my house if you want any kind of, I'm not sure what I'm saying, advice on money and how to make money and blah, 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 blah. That would be the wrong way to get up and do a 30-second elevator speech. But if you turn it around, let's say the financial advisor is focusing on children education funds and gets up and say, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Allan Knight for ABC Financial. How are you all today? Thank you for having me. I have a quick question. How many in this room have children? And probably a whole bunch of people. Darren, do you have any children? Probably Darren puts up his hand and 3/4 of the people put up their hand. I have a question. How many of you would like to see your children secure long-term education, the best education for your children? Everyone's going to put up their hand. Well, at our company, we have a unique service, and very few people know that the government actually provides a system that ensures that your child will earn up to $7,200 to help secure long-term best education for them. Were you aware of this, ladies and gentlemen? No. Well, that's only one kind of service that we provide at ABC Financial. I really look forward to seeing you after. Love to exchange business cards to see how we can mutually help each other. And if you would like a complimentary presentation, I'm more than happy. I'll even come over to your house to show you how this service could benefit you. Do you see the difference between A and B? So A paints a picture on an emotional level that the person then feels the benefit of. That's the key. You've got a short window of time, and the emotions is what sells, not the logical mind, which many people... Today I was at a networking event, and about 3/4 of the people that did their 60-second elevator speech, hi, my name, let's say it was Darrin Hotte. My name is Darrin Hotte. I do conflict resolution and mediation management. Thank you for having me. I'm a really nice guy. So if he said that, he's a nice guy and he's very good at what he does, but he probably wouldn't really tap into their appeal emotionally. So we don't have enough time to go into Darren's, but you get the picture, my friend. Last question from George. I'm doing a lot of networking these days, but not getting a lot out of it. Any suggestions? Well, there's a lot of reasons why someone would not be getting things out of networking. Number one, it could be that you go to the wrong networking events with people that have nothing to do with your service. That could be one. Another reason, you go and you have some bad breath and everyone's running away from you. That could be number two. Another reason is because when you go to a networking event, you might Darren was saying, it's important to communicate. Instead of walking up to 10 or 15 or 20 people, you spend about an hour and a half with 2 people that you know. And you're just kidding yourself, not really networking effectively and meeting a whole bunch of people and adding numbers to your database so that you can follow up and meet a whole lot of people. Another thing is wrong expectation from networking. Many entrepreneurs make the mistake of going to networking events with the intention of getting a sale. The last thing in the world you should be thinking about is getting a sale. The first thing you should be thinking about is how I'm going to, like Darren said, connect with people. It's establishing long-term relationship. Kevin Penstock, the owner of The Profile, I met him maybe 5-6 years ago. And we didn't know each other very much. We just kept bumping into each other. We kind of always felt we would do something together. But it's over a period of time of getting to know somebody, and trust builds and confidence builds. So yes, there will be some people that will want your service right away, but a lot of it will come from the relationship building. You've got to have the confidence in yourself and the patience and the trust and the willingness to keep consistent. That's my feedback for the day. Mike, any last comments before we end the program?
Nope, we're good to go.
Hey, Mike Zahora is one of our sponsors. You know, Mike Zahora is an expert on YouTube, an expert on video and audio. Mike, tell people how they contact you.
They can get a hold of me through my website, Mike Zahora, that's ZAHORA.com.
Now, we don't say this on the air, Mike, but one of the reasons I make sure on the Allan Knight Show that we don't see you is because you're so much better looking than me, and I don't want to be outdone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
Thank you, Darrin Hotte, for being our guest. Thank you, Mike, for all the work you do. Thank you for The Profile. We look forward to seeing you next week at our next Allan Knight Show. And in the meantime, everyone, have a wonderful, safe week. Take care. Talk to you soon.